What's good, Moody? How you doing, man?
What's up?
Happy
What's
Thanksgiving.
up? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Happy spending season
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
holidays.
Got another pop-up show this week. But before we get into the pop-up, like we always do with every show, we start off with the Sunday Percy's. Before we hopped online, we said that for both of us this week, coming up with Percy's and Champions of the Week was fairly difficult. I still don't have mine on the Notion doc yet, so hopefully by the end of the show we'll have our I'll have a champion of the week. But I'll let you start off with your Percy.
My Percy is just a shout out to Kai Cenat and his Mafia-thon too that he's been doing. Because I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, what have I really been engaged with? You know what I mean? And then just algorithm works for you, right? And I was just thinking, like, he's been doing this 30-day, straight stream or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, God damn, that's some hustle. But I've gone back to it multiple times because every day or every other day he's got some other new, celebrity guest or something on there. But like from the streams that I've watched, he's had, or at least partially, I haven't watched them like completely front to back, but like Lizzo, SZA, Chris Brown, Kyrie Irving, uh, Kevin Hart, Drewski. The most recent thing he did, he had a real life couple there and he married them like on stream for
Mm.
Thanksgiving. And I saw that highlight literally like minutes before the pod. And I was like, you know what? I have been coming back to this, like the highlights for this. And I'm like, yeah, his hustle is crazy, but content king, like he's just, the ideas are there, he's just pumping them out. So uh it's been enjoyable. Like obviously all the guests have been great. So Kevin Hart and him is just like the chemistry is just, Kevin Hart is a fucking legend, but their chemistry is amazing. Like every time he comes on, it's like that should be on TV. Seriously, like a Kai Cenat
Yeah,
and Kevin Hart show. But it's been cool.
yeah. I mean,
That's my
obviously I'm
Percy.
aware of Kai. I don't watch his content. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't understand why he's popular outside of like he's probably just he's entertaining, and I'm like, if that's it, that's all it needs to take, right? It's just like no one needs
Yeah,
to say it needs to be highbrow art or whatever. As long as you're entertaining and people are getting out of enjoyment out of it, like I'm not hating over here. It is interesting to see though. I mean, like when you say like Kevin Hart and Kai Cenat, I'm like, again, not knowing much of Kai Cenat, I'm like, they seem like the same person.
yeah.
So it's like,
Literally.
okay, yeah, it's like, okay, like we're kind of just passing down whatever Kevin Hart was doing for the last 15, 20 years to Kai Cenat. So it's what's up. It's what's up. Like I've never checked it out, but like, he's all over the internet. Like I saw actually uh it's more I guess geared towards Drewski, but it happened on Kai Cenat's stream. But there was like an overweight kid that was there for like a dinner with like a bunch of people, and then apparently like Drewski made this kid cry, um,
Mm-hmm.
calling him fat or whatever. And then the mom made a video in response calling out Kai Cenat and Drewski, but then she also just didn't help her cause because she just started, throwing out inflammatories on the backside. So it's I don't know why I brought that up. It's just again, you just see I just it's just kind of things that you kind of come across on the internet and you're just like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like it ain't my taste, but hey, who am I to argue what 20-year-olds like? I'm 35 years old. Like I'm
Right.
aged out on that. So it's a shout outs to him. Shout outs to him.
Yeah, what you
Um,
got for a Percy?
yeah, my Percy is a little bit more. It's kind of connected to Kai, but not really because it's just the fact that we both just make online content. But yes. So last week we talked about finally paying rent here on a StreamYard. As you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
see now, we got a little studio going on. We got a little background, our logo in the corner and stuff like that. Last week also was our longest episode that we probably have done, which was like close to like 3 hours almost. I found out afterwards that with StreamYard they have this thing where they called like magic clips, where like they go through your recording and they can kind of give you quick little 30-second clips for you to post up online or whatever. That only works if we stay in between 30 minutes to 2 hours of content. If
That
not, then
only works.
it only works if we don't go over 2
Uh
hours.
got you. Okay. See, that was the original goal in the first place. And we was like, that's attempted.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why my Percy this week is called podcast goals because we try to just for time's sake and not being long winded try to keep it in 2 hours, but we always go over. But now, if we want to make our lives easier, there's incentive to
All
keep it
right.
within 2 hours. And with that being
Hey,
said, oh, go ahead before I say that.
no, hey, that's a great goal because I was gonna say let's episode 21. This one right here. This will be the first one under 2 hours that we've done in a long time.
Yeah, in a long time because we've done it like once or twice, but yeah, this will be the first time in a long time. And with that being said, let's try to get this under 2 hours and start this show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Proud. I was you were my tag team partner.
French Fried Pro Moody off the top row. This is the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast.
The avenue of wrestling.
Follow us on socials at the Wrestling Re-Up on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, everywhere out there, and YouTube.
Hey, that's what's up. We are also on Spotify and Apple Music, so you can listen to us on podcasts. So go over there and like, subscribe, leave a review, whatever, all the stuff that kind of gets us, attention and awareness in the long run. But welcome to episode 21 of the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast. We are back. It's another pop-up week, coming off another pop-up week. We got Survivor Series WarGames, and about 7 hours. We got an early start time. I think there's probably a UFC pay-per-view going on today. So Survivor Series starts at 6 o'clock today.
I know that's the pre-show. When I was looking it up, it's at 6:30. I think the main show starts.
No,
But
6 o'clock.
it's 6. Okay, well, Google's wrong because it definitely said 6:30.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have. Yesterday they were saying 6 on the show, but they tell you 6 so you can get there for the pre-show. So
yeah, exactly.
It could be
That's
a
what I was
6:30
figuring.
show, but yeah, nonetheless, we got another pop-up week coming off another pop-up. But let's get into what happened last week.
Yep.
At AEW Full Gear.
So disappointed in you.
I was
so disappointed in you. I gave it to you. Because like,
go ahead.
Well, yeah, we don't know. Either way, it ended in a tie again. So now we got a total record of 1-6-2 to my 6-1-2. Yo, the Chris Statlander Mercedes Moné, I was questioning if Camille was going to turn. I was just like, it felt early. And you say that Roderick Strong is going to beat MJF. Like,
again,
come on. What was that?
I thought there was going to be interference. I thought there was going to be interference during the match. That was my excuse. And then, like I said in the podcast, like I said on the group chat, I was like, man, asking me to pick AEW pay-per-views, PLEs, is like asking me to play Smash Bros. Do I want to play Smash Bros? Not really. But if y'all need a fourth, yeah, I'll play. But just know, I'm not good at this. So I'm probably sure if I actually paid a little bit more attention, I probably could have got it. I'm like, yeah, it's easily MJF. But I don't know. Adam Cole losing the other week kind of threw me off as well. Because I'm like, okay, like I thought it was supposed to be a straight shot to him, but it wasn't. So we're figuring out ways to kind of get the get back. But I was wrong. But nonetheless, it was still a great overall pay-per-view. I jumped in around like halfway, like around the Daniel Garcia, I believe, and Jack Perry match. I jumped in around there, and I enjoyed that match. I really liked the finish of that match as well. But it was a pretty good card overall.
Yeah, and elsewhere on the card, let's just run through it. Moxley retained over Orange Cassidy. We knew that was going to happen. Takeshita retained over Ricochet. Kyle Fletcher beat Will Ospreay. That's my match of the night, probably. Like you said, Daniel Garcia, new TNT champion over Jack Perry. Lashley beating Swerve the 8th champion, and Private Party retaining in that fatal 4-way. So, yeah, also, I don't know if I mentioned it to you in text, but yeah, that Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay, just going back to that Tiger Driver 98, like long-term storytelling, right? Everything's
Yeah.
long-term storytelling. So, and that time he just dropped him on his head. So I was like, oh, that shit was vicious. He didn't even like deliver it fully. He just like let him go. And I was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was over from there.
What did you think
I
about
really like Kyle Fletcher.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no
I
doubt.
really like Kyle Fletcher, the proto star. And like I said, they're boys. You know, they go back all the way to New Japan. It's like we knew that this was going to happen. I think in a shoot sense, you know, Will obviously wants to put his boy over. So
Yeah.
I was
gonna ask. I was gonna ask because like when we were making the predictions, we were just like, okay, yeah, Moxley is gonna beat Orange Cassidy. We were right, and we didn't give too much, detail as to why we thought that because we figured it was pretty easy. But I mean, the match, the way it ended, it's a lot of stuff going on. You had Christian come out, you had Jay White come out, you had Hangman come out.
Hangman.
A lot of different people kind of come out and try to make their stake at this claim. So I mean, what is your intrigue in that? Before we get into Dynamite, but just seeing how that ended on Full Gear, like what were your thoughts around that?
I kind of liked it because it felt. I mean, well, first off, it felt different. Just that it was like because it was chaotic, but it felt like they were all like main characters of the show. You all know why they're out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a daisy chain sort of effect. Like Christian, we know why he's out there because he's like, oh shit, maybe I can sneak and get this championship. That ain't gonna work. You know, Darby's just out there to kick their ass because he's one of the, like you said, pillars of AEW. You know, he's gonna be fighting the good fight forever, probably against the Death Riders.
Yeah.
So it felt chaotic, but it's still connected. Still I guess if you're nuanced enough, I don't want to say if you're nuanced enough, but if you know the character's story, like then it all makes sense, So, but it was a lot going on for sure.
That was being built of Hangman working with Christian, or did I miss that?
So yeah, he says that on Dynamite.
Okay.
That he explains it on Dynamite, which
no, not this week. I'm talking about before this week. Was there?
No, okay. It wasn't. But that's where I was going to say. I like that, though, because it's like, I mean, he's a heel. Like, why is he going to tell us his evil plan? You know what I'm saying? Because he was like, I would be world champion right now. I can portray that out. I'm smart enough as a wrestling fan. It's like, oh, yeah, he was going to help Christian get the title from Moxley. And then he's like, you help me, you get the first shot on Dynamite. That's what that was. And he just didn't say it in that so many words. It's like, he don't got to spell it out for you. But it's just like, I'd be new champion. You can see the daisy chain. So I thought that was actually kind of cool with him, like, because it didn't make sense in the moment. But then, like, for him to be like, oh, yeah, on Dynamite, that's what it was. I'm like, okay, I'll fuck with that.
No, yeah. It made sense by the time we got to Dynamite. And it wasn't even really confusing. I wasn't sure if I had missed anything or not in the lead up to that. But we'll get into that a little bit further. My last thought before I ask you, before we finish this off, I had did this whole booking with Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander, and I picked Mercedes to win, but it was like, yeah, but I think Camille's gonna turn. She's probably gonna knock both those women out, and then lay Mercedes on top of her so she can like be the one to knock her off. That didn't happen. I was surprised though that this was a clean finish.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty straight up match and a clean finish. So like, not to say that's bad or anything. It was just more of like, okay, like, Sasha is leaning into like this real, like, slimy, not slimy, but like,
I'm trying to think of a synonym for you right now. I want to leave you hanging, but I'm like, slimy.
No, I mean, like,
vindictive?
it's like, no, not even vindictive. She's like Liv Morgan. Like, it's just like a childish heel. And so it's like, okay, like you're going to find underhanded tactics to always get out of a situation. Even though you're like super talented, you're not going to use that talent to win over. You're going to use some underhanded tactics to get over. But it wasn't the case. Like she went through a match. It was clean. She got the pinfall. Like there was hard. I mean, I got to go back and remember if I'm missing anything, but I don't remember any kind of like major interference that would have just gave her the match. So again, shout out to that, especially for being the only women's match on the card that like it just didn't end in shenanigans and it was like a legit end to the fight. Which also kind of I guess prepped us to get ready for. I mean, not prepped us, but at least it gave an intrigue to going to what was going to happen on Wednesday.
Yeah. And not for nothing, that is a good point that she finished it clean. Because yeah, we understand that she's a heel and she has Camille like by her side, but like repeating like that same trope. I mean, like that would be the problem with like. I mean, that's one of my problems with the Judgment Day. You know, it's like that stuff will chip away. It chips away at the character and even the standing of, I think, the shoot person. You know what I'm saying? It's like we know how talented Mercedes is, but it's like if she still keeps coming out here and Camille is like hanging somebody's neck up on the top rope as an interference, and then you get the win. It's like, all right, are we actually doing anything here? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? From a storytelling perspective. So yeah, you gotta curve that. I mean, it's appropriate for heels to do it, but you gotta curve the amount. So
Yeah, exactly. So final thoughts on Full Gear. What's your final thoughts?
3.5 stars. 3.5 stars out of 5. Definitely not their show of the year. The best thing on it, like I said, Osprey and Fletcher is going to stick out for me, and then like the chaos at the end. That'll probably be the two things.
What was mid falling or Reggie, if you had any?
Probably.
You don't have to have any if you don't. It's just
Yeah,
curious.
if I was to say anything, I would say the private party, the fatal four way, just because it wasn't as good as a usual like crazy party match like that is even on Dynamite, like weekly.
Yeah.
I would say that wasn't even like a Dynamite one. So that's what I would say would be the Reggie.
Okay. Oh, one thing I did want to call out on my side, I guess my final thoughts is that we had like 9 matches on here, but we also had a segment on the show.
Mhm.
A regular promo in which Mariah May turned on Mina Shirakawa.
Shirakawa. Yeah.
And that was the end of their friendship. And so we talked about this last week within regards to Tony Storm and her talking about being retired. This seems a little bit more credence to that's the case. I would say.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say I did have half of a mind to bring it up on last pod that like I saw that segment was there, you know, the championship celebration. Like, since she's won the title from Tony, she's been trying to celebrate appropriately, and it never happens. So now it was going to happen here, and my thought was possibly Tony's coming back, but it's like a few months, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't expecting the turn, so I'm like, okay, well, at least that gives us a direction for the next pay-per-view cycle. But I don't give it any weight to like, oh, Tony's like actually retired. I would say her return is just further down the line.
Okay. Well, we'll put that in each of that in our back pockets. You got a card and I got a card, and we'll see how that plays out in the next few months. Yeah, overall, I like the show. I think I'd agree with you 3.5 on the card. It was really good. It was really good. I mean, the Swerve Lashley match, I'm like, it's kind of what we see with Lashley, right? I feel like Lashley kind of has like 2 matches, like, or at least a main style of match where it's like, I'm gonna dominate you, and then I'm gonna play with my food, which will then allow you to kind of come back, and then I'll end up getting the win at the end of it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like, I'm gonna need you to like sell a little bit, and do some more stuff than other than just like start off dominant, play with your food, and then have to kind of scrap back to get the win. Because like again, if we're saying like Swerve is the guy here, we see him as an AEW guy and he's a foundation. It's like he shouldn't just be getting washed like that.
I wouldn't call that a wash, but I could see why
He
you. If
dominated
anything,
that match.
And for it to end in the Hurt Lock, also. I mean, passing out is like way more definitive than just being pinned. So I would say that would that does it a little bit more damage. Like I would have been okay if it was like just a spear, but whatever.
Yeah.
We knew that Lashley was going over. You gotta make him a legit threat, and Swerve is a very recent, fresh champion and still very over with the crowd. So
Yeah. And that's Bobby's second match, so
mhm.
couldn't take a loss like that. I just, it'd be nice to see a little bit of di- variety in his match types.
Okay, yeah, I hear you.
Um, that's Full Gear. That is not the last of the AEW we'll be talking about once we get to the coffee shop on Wednesday. So we'll pick back on some of the loose strings that we left off here at Full Gear. But let's get into Monday. And you put him some current event. I
Yeah, I
saw
did.
that this list came out, but I didn't read it. I just literally just saw a video clip of it posted on my feed, but I didn't watch it. So I don't even know who's on this list.
Yeah, I skimmed it. I saw it. Yeah, it came out on the 25th. But the top 30 wrestlers under 30 from ESPN's rankings. Number one, Dominic Mysterio. You got MJF 2, Tony Storm 3, Rhea Ripley 4, Mariah May 5, Takeshita, Jack Perry, Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, and Shota Umino at 10. Braun Breaker just outside at 11. We'll get into more of the list. How you feel about that top 10 immediately?
Um, Obviously, you heard me immediately straight laugh, just saying that Dominic is the number one
I
wrestler
agree.
under 30. Um,
And it's for
no,
it's
no,
for
like MJF,
only
MJF is better. Like Tony Storm is better. Um,
I got you. But
not to say
from
he's
a
not top 10, but like even as far as like what you've accomplished this year, like Dominic has heat, but like that's not even real heat.
and this is where I get into the out of kayfabe. He's been like, I saw this that he's been like the workhorse for like the last 2 years. He's been leading in matches. Like he's had more matches than Cody, and he was the leader last year also. And it's like that's why he's number one. And yes, I agree with everything that you just said. But I was like, oh, from like the shoot, you know what I'm saying, business side, where it's like, oh, this kid is like literally like he's the one who's actually wrestling every other day out of everybody else in the fucking roster. And it's like, okay, I understand why, but just for that reason, that's why I said I agree. But
I'm not saying he's
and
not far from number one. I just need a little bit more convincing, and that's fair.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
fair. It's just I'm just like okay, but like it's just
I would still need a
I
solo
think
story
part of
from
it is just
him.
I think part of it is just like we're just kind of running through the rinse cycle with like Dom, right? It's like we're kind of
Yeah,
rinse
and
wash
Judgment Day.
repeat,
Yeah, yeah, for
and so
sure.
there's not a lot of variety in it. But I mean, to your point, like he works all the time, TV and house shows. He's on multiple shows doing all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like multiple
Two-time
segments.
NXT North American champion. He went down to
Yeah.
NXT for a bit.
Yeah, and he gets on the mic. There's booze. He can't speak, but again, a lot of that is just like tongue in cheek, rather than
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we genuinely like don't like you. I mean, like he's not far. I just when I see MJF, Tony Storm,
Let's say realistically, he's probably around like 7. I would say, like, if I were to if I would take
I
that
would say
factor
top.
out,
I would say top 5.
yeah,
Who are you putting? Who you put? If you put him at 7, who are you putting above him?
Takeshita's still above him. You know, I'm super high on Takeshita, and
Okay.
so he's staying in his spot at 6. And I
Rhea
would
is definitely
probably,
higher than Dominic.
yeah, Rhea's higher than Dominic for sure. And then I would put, ooh, probably Breaker. I would swap Breaker and Mariah May, or at least bump her further down the list. And granted, his stuff is like very recent, 2-time Intercontinental champion and stuff like that. But he's been nothing but
I
entertaining
think
and
Mariah's
electric
at
since he's
20.
been.
That's wild.
Oh yeah, she should be higher on that list. We didn't get through all of it. Let's just run through the rest of the names. So Braun Breaker at 11
That's
because we
a
don't got to
lot.
stay
I'm
here
just kind of
forever.
calling out like the major ones that I'm kind of scrolling through. Like they have Logan Paul at 22. Um, Tiffany
Chris
Stratton
Statlander
18.
14.
Jordan Grace 16. Hook 17. Theory 15. So Chris Statlander 14. seeing some of these names, I'm like, I didn't even think y'all were this young. Makes me just feel old.
Yeah, I think that's what it is also. Because like I'm just proud, like, one of my hidden gems is Julia Hart. She's just been getting her promos or
Yeah.
vignettes about her return. She's in here at 26. And I'm surprised at that just because I'm like, she's been gone for like, literally 6 months out injured. So I'm like, she could be off this list. But either way,
I'm
the
also
list
just
came out.
like,
So
I'm just like, who asks ESPN for this shit?
true.
Outside of like WWE
Yeah.
paying for this, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, they said like, oh, last year they were ranked number 5. Last year, like we care about this. Like this is some
Yeah.
integral
That
thing in wrestling. Like y'all, like the funny thing with ESPN is that like they shit on wrestling for like most of their careers.
yeah.
As an organization, they never took wrestling seriously. It didn't take them until Jonathan Coachman to start working there for them to even consider having
Yeah.
like talking about wrestling. So the fact that you guys want to have sections on your website and bring like I'm like, y'all are capitalists. You know what I'm saying? Y'all only do this because y'all see, oh, look, money. People watch wrestling. Y'all don't care about this shit. So I just find it funny that ESPN is like, oh, we are the worldwide leader in sports. We should make a 30 for 30 pro wrestlers. Like, you have any authority on any of this stuff.
That was one of my knee-jerk reactions. I'm glad you point that out before we leave it here. But yeah, because I was just like, we just got the PWI. I don't care about this one. Like,
Yeah, I care
go.
about more PWIs than
Yeah,
ESPN, and I don't even care about the
seriously.
PWIs.
And I don't. Yeah, but it's like they definitely at least feel more accurate. It's like those guys are watching way more than us. But anyway, let's get over to Raw.
Flagship go home show for Survivor Series. It
Yeah.
was pretty mid show for me. Nothing bad, but like nothing really just kind of like stood out. Even though there's two things that I'll kind of call out, but it's the same thing in Primo. But
Mhm.
I'll let you take the lead on it.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was coming, but I was just glad to see. I mean, it kind of surprised me, but the women's IC title announcement,
Mm-hmm.
that just because of the recency, I thought at least we would have this whole like pay-per-view cycle with just like the United States, and then we would get like the next one, like Intercontinental, to carry us through news. So surprising, but either way, awesome. I was like, there's no way they're leaving the women on Raw without a title. That just doesn't make sense.
No,
Like,
yeah, it's
seriously.
like
So
we brought it up last week or a couple weeks ago when they introduced the U.S. women's title. It's like there's way too many tournaments going on right now across all shows, not even just
Mhm.
WWE. It's like you got tournament for the U.S. women's title, you got the Iron Survivor Classic
Yeah.
and
And NXT.
NXT. You got the Continental Classic that just started off in AEW. It's like, and then
Mhm.
there's like another tournament that's happening in AEW, isn't there? That was the Jamie Hayter match,
Oh, yeah. I forget what that's called. It's like
and
a
then
women's specific,
yeah,
tournament.
and then now you're doing a women's intercontinentals title tournament. It's like, okay, like we're gonna do this IC women's tournament, but it just needs to be pushed back like at least 3 weeks. So there's just not 5 tournaments running on right now.
Yeah.
So I think we got like one more week. No, we got like at least 2 more weeks. Because like the first
The
round, we still have one more match we still need to
Mhm.
figure out who's replacing Jade in her US title match. And then
Mhm.
the first round will be done
Oh,
for the
that was Lash. They just had their match on
was that
SmackDown.
Lash? Oh, okay. I wasn't
Lash
sure if that
replaced
was
her.
that okay. I wasn't sure if that was I wasn't sure if she was already on the books for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. All right, then the women's IC title should start off next week. My leader in the clubhouse for that title should be Zelina Vega. So
I'd She's a candidate for sure. She's definitely a candidate. I think if we're saying that we're going vet for the women's or for the US title, which would be like either Chelsea Green or who's the other one? that we said is
Michin.
probably or Michin. So that's a vet winning. I would go younger establishing, and that's where I'd probably think in Lyra. I think Lyra's a good pick for that.
Yeah, Triple H wants to give her a title.
He does. Yeah, that's one of his girls, one of his projects for sure. So, if I had to bet right now, I'd put it on her. But yeah, great that it's happening. Women's IC title tournament coming soon. But you ain't lying. There is a lot of tournaments going on right now. I was like, yeah, once you point that out, I'm like, that is kind of OD. I was gonna say, like, I do like tournaments just in general because it gives structure, you know what I'm saying, and direction towards what we're working. And that's easy spin-offs into beefs. You interfered in this match, or like you low blowed me, you know what I'm saying? Like while we were going in this tournament, it's like, all right, easy. That's easy to work from. So but yeah, with 5 tournaments all at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of crazy OD.
That's a lot.
It's in the world of wrestling. Yeah.
And then it's like, don't worry, we got another one coming off the blocks. And once we finish one, we still got one on the back burner coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot to kind of get through.
So it's going to carry us into the road to WrestleMania. That's what it's doing for these like women's titles. That's what it's doing.
But again, the biggest thing I guess we both agreed upon on this show was the New Day getting in a very heated argument. And I'll start this off. I'll start this off because like a couple weeks ago I had this in shake. You know, because I was like, we just need to hurry up and get to the New Day anniversary episode because they've a bit of dragging this out. Still think that's true. This was a nice argument. I don't know. I'm still gonna be on the other side of the fence where I'm gonna say I don't know if this is where people think it's gonna lead them to. Of a split between Kofi and Xavier. I don't think based off of how that conversation ended, I don't lean towards a split.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that, like, because before, like, weeks ago, we had Xavier say the quiet part out loud when he was like, you guys just didn't respect me because I wasn't a world champion or something to that effect. And they just really had it out. Like, Kofi, I would say none of this is heelish, like, between the two of them, because I see this as friends who are, like, got in a legit argument and both of you said things that y'all didn't mean. You know what I'm saying? So I see it as like a neutral almost on both sides. And just to go to your point of them not actually breaking up, like the thought of New Day breaking up is obviously cataclysmic, but we also haven't seen Big E in forever. Like Big E needs to remind them of who they are. I think we've been saying that already. So hopefully we get that. And even if Big E's not there, you can still reconcile. Yeah, I would believe so. Obviously, it's the 10-year anniversary. But even if he wasn't, it could be interesting just to tell a story of reconciliation because we don't ever see that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all going through actually the tough times and like coming out the other side of that. So that would be interesting.
I think what stood to me the most was Xavier's last line to Kofi. When Kofi was like, if you were somebody else, ooh, I would have. He's like, what? Like, and then Xavier was like, what? Finally get mad? And then that, that's where like Kofi went away and it was like, I'll catch you next week. And I think that's the thing that Xavier wants from Kofi. You two happy-go-lucky to get mad.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like you hear the whole conversation. It's like, okay, they're going head to head, but then to leave it off at that, it made me think. I'm like, is that what Xavier really wants from Kofi? It's like, stop being this happy-go-lucky. I'm just happy to be here and for the opportunity, and get mad. You know,
we haven't held the championships in forever.
Take it personally. And if it means that I gotta say some mean-spirited stuff to get under your skin, who's the only person that really could say that? And you understand that, I'm just using this as a motivation tactic. And so, like, I can see next week in the middle of that ring, like, obviously there's going to be some bickering. They're going to be yelling at each other. E's going to be in the middle of it. I would not be surprised to see this would be the turn, a heel turn for the New Day, with E as, like, the mic man.
Mm-hmm.
And can you
That's great.
imagine E saying like, "It's a new day"? Yes, it is. But like, instead of it coming off as a heel, as a face, you're saying that as a heel faction with
Yeah.
Xavier and Kofi both looking like, "Yo, I'm about to rip somebody's head off." I'll give him props for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the smart money, the easy money is take the split.
I mean, you're right. They've
No,
been
but again,
faces forever. So
that last thing to me, I was just like, it seems like that's what Xavier wants. It's not only
yeah.
just for him, but it's like, yo, man, like there's too many times like we just sitting here just happy to be on the ride.
Hmm.
But like, how long is our ride gonna be here? We're celebrating 10 years. Kofi, you already been here for 15. And we talking about the Mellows. We talking about the Obafemis, the Tony D'Angelos, all coming up. Like, how long you got, bro? How long you got, B?
Yeah, that's a booking from a line. That's something for sure. So I mean, we haven't seen them heal. I mean, outside of like when they first debuted, and that really didn't get over at all. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too.
So
But yeah, the great
I'm putting
segment.
my card. I'm gonna put my card on the minimum on that on the underdog. That
Yeah,
this is a heel change faction group, and we get E saying it's a new day. Yes, it
yeah,
is in a
and that's
very
just as
heelish
good because at least we're
heelish
getting
manner.
Biggie. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome just because we're getting Biggie on the regular
I could
in
also
that
see them
booking.
just
So
super kicking. I could see them both super kicking Big E.
that's wild. Put a pin in that on the mids because I want to keep it moving. We had 35 or 36, but for my mids, I had Bianca winning in the Survivor
Okay.
Series Women's Advantage match
Mhm.
with Bailey interfering in order pulling a heel move as a face, looking more and more likely as a heel kind of suspect for Jade.
Huh. Heel
Maybe
in
I'm just saying
general, as
heel.
far as the thing, like is the tactic
That's
heel,
a heel
sure,
as a
but like
thing.
it's heel, it's it's perspective based.
But judging from Bianca's reaction, she's still like she's white meat baby face. She always has been. So she looked up and was like, I don't think she questioned like what she did, but she was like, "Bitch, why did you do that?" Like,
No, she looked at
kind
us like,
of.
"Why are you here?"
Well, yeah, that also I saw that in her face, but it was still a great match. Like seeing the military press from Bianca
Mhm.
on Naya, like throwing her off the top, like obviously didn't hold her there long, but that second and
Yeah.
a half, she had her. I was like, oh shit. I was like, Bianca's strong as shit, dog. So yeah, great match.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I didn't have this anywhere on my card, but like I more so because like you kind of knew Bianca was gonna win. It was all a
yeah,
little predictable. Like I was like, okay, like it seems like Bailey's gonna be the fifth person. Especially I found this last week. Like Bailey is the only woman to be in every WarGames match.
no, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting historical stat. Yeah.
she
Uh,
almost missed out before Jade got hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's literally the only woman to be in every WarGames match. So
Yeah, maybe she wants to be the woman of war games. Like, Undertaker with
hey,
WrestleMania. So
but again, but then it's one on one. Bianca, Naya. I love Naya, but Bianca's John Cena. So
mhm.
it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, the corporation takes over at that point.
yeah.
Uh my other mid, I got Damian putting Gunther through a table with it's funny, I was listening to Wrestle Talk and they described this segment. It's like, Jackie's in the ring interviewing Gunther. It's like, hey, why do you suck so much now? You gonna cry? Like, that's how they were like, that's the translation. But yeah, Damien comes down there and basically punks Gunther again. Like, just talk shit to him. Like, hey, say something to my face. Gunther doesn't say anything, hits him with a mic. And eventually Damien puts him through the announcer's desk with a Razor's Edge and holds up the title. I have this as mid, like, slightly tilt down, slightly down just because uh like him not saying anything at all like I understand the story, but of him being punked basically. But I just thought you could have said something. We ain't get nothing out of Gunther, like not even to answer like to Jackie or anything. So that's why I was like, eh. But Damian is still like great in this spot. I think this is some of his. That's where it's funny because I think this is doing more for Damian. I don't want to say that Gunther's losing anything, but I like the look for Damian. I don't like the look for Gunther, like in story.
100% agree. 100%
That's just
agree.
all it is. So it's
I don't
like
like
this
Gunther's
story is
like,
still a net neutral.
Gunther's approach
sort of.
to Damien is just like, again, it's grade school. Oh,
Mhm.
you're street trash, nigga. Grow up.
Really.
Like that's the best argument that you got. Like I'd rather you talk about like how like this dude had to like learn from like Master Splinter while I was in goddamn
Yeah. The sewer.
Juilliard.
Yeah.
While Gunther was at Juilliard learning the wrestling from like the greatest minds of all time. Like I'd rather you take that approach than be like, oh, you're a street trash. Bro.
Mhm.
Like take that 1980s 5th grade elementary school gimmick. There's a lot of not just with him, but there's just a lot of stories currently going on in WWE where I'm just like, this is very elementary. Whether it be American Made, Liv, and Rhea, Judgment Day, Gunther is just like, man, like I get it. Like you have a wide ranging audience, but man, this some of this stuff is very, very like bad.
Yeah. To get to the bad stuff, this is a good segue to my shake. This is a hair away.
It's not bad.
No, this is where I'm going. Judgment Day is at like this is the last one. This was the last one for them. Exactly. Like every single match from this point forward is going to be Shake or is going to be Reggie.
Yeah.
Every single one that I see like this. So this is where I'm saying this is the last one because you get another typical Dom and Carlito interference, putting his foot on the bottom rope, all that good stuff. Judgment Day retains. And we just got like the return of War Raiders where it's like, you would hope, there's some momentum there, but it's like, same thing. Could be saving it for a pay-per-view, sure. Now you better put somebody like next pay-per-view, y'all better put somebody over. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, because this is like for the next month because it ain't happening at Survivor Series. So Saturday night's main event or somewhere in between. Like they need to drop these titles seriously.
You gotta get titles off of factions. Like I'm sorry, like because it's just
without story. Yeah, exactly.
It honestly devalues the titles because it's like, what does it matter if it's a tag team match when I gotta face 4 other people?
Yeah.
Every time, then y'all not real tag teams. Y'all some punks. Y'all some wimps. And if that's your whole gimmick, that sucks. Because y'all better than that.
That's why they need a story. Because right now they just hold in the titles.
That's why you're better with what you did on SmackDown, even though they got their asses kicked this week. But with MCMG, you're better off actually just giving it to a real tag team and let them have it. Because you're doing it in NXT too, with at least with the women's North American
Fatal
champion.
Influence.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired of these people that are just like, oh, I'm gonna defend this title because I have 3 other people that are always gonna interfere in my match. Okay, fine, just take it. This is my bathroom break.
If
that's how we play,
this is the last shake for Judgment Day. Yep. Yeah. And my last shake is just because it was predictable. The IC title match between Braun and Ludwig ends with a Sheamus interference because we're getting a triple threat. So
and you could
but
just
we knew that was coming.
You could just throw. I don't have it on here, but you could just throw Adam Pearce and Reggie.
I don't think. See, this is where I would say I would push back, and I understand though. Obviously, like you can keep him as the title of Reggie for sure, right? But I think that's just his character now, right? Or that's just been like outside of like him losing control and shit. I think I'm starting to see it more of like Raw is the House of Horrors, where it's like there's no controlling it anyway. You know what I'm saying? If Nick Aldis would switch, would like to see that.
Nick
How
Aldis
about
would
that
have
comes up?
better
And
control of this show than
I agree with you. I agree with you right now. But I'm just saying, just go with the premise. Like, let's say like they get drafted to opposite shows or some shit. I don't know. And Raw would just still have the same thing because it's like I just think they know that that's what he's like. His best stuff he's good at is just yelling, I guess, on the mic. So they're like, just go for it, man. He's like, I can yell from the diaphragm. So he just
I don't
does
know
that.
if this
But
man's stress level ever goes under 100.
yeah, right.
I think his stress level is
Not while he's at work.
it's always above 100. It's never less than 100. I'm like, okay. He posted a video on Twitter talking about like people keep asking me when I say I need a drink, what kind of drink am I talking about? And then he's like, it's water. I'm talking about water. And then he just drinks a gallon of water or whatever. But yeah, it's just like, again, this is straight kayfabe here, but Adam Pearce always just coming out just like, oh my God. Just like, bro.
Not enough. Yeah.
Like, figure it out.
Seriously. That's all I got for the flagship. You ready to move to Tuesday?
Let's move to Tuesday. And
what's this news you got?
Yeah. Current event. It was announced. Cody Rhodes, KO title match, Saturday night's main event at Long Island, December 14th. So we got a whole nother month.
Yeah.
Build for Cody and KO. Or not a whole month, but like 2 weeks. So it's not too bad. But
yeah, we'll be all right.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how they continue the build. It seems like we've already kind of reached capacity. So everything else just seems like, okay, just wait 2 more weeks. But it should be a fun match. Do you think Kevin has a chance?
I mean, he has like the most of a chance that I believed up to this point out of anybody because of this most recent promo. But
that just over goes 50%. To their...
No.
Okay.
It's not over 50%, though. Definitely not.
Is it close to 50%? Is it 49?
No.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saturday night's main event. We got our first match. Match. And
our main event. That's obviously gonna be the main event.
Yeah, but I'm still calling that there's gonna be a Long Island street fight between Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins.
Yeah. Let's see some damage.
I said that, or I said somebody else was in the street fight. I said there was going to be definitely a Long Island street fight, though.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, from next to the Long Island, we'll go into the bodega of NXT. This was a cool episode. Not too high for me on here, but you definitely got the highest thing on here.
Yeah. That Primo is my knee-jerk reaction to the segment where GM Ava, is talking to all the basically the losers bracket, or the losers of the Iron Survivor qualifiers. And she tells them, hey, we're going to have a losers bracket for you guys to get back in. Like, it's going to be a fatal 4-way of all of you guys for men's and women's, and you guys will get the last spot in, right? Eddie Thorpe is upset at that. Because he says, hey, my match is the only one who had interference, which he's right. Why do I have to, requalify? And then Ava's like, hey, that's what it is. Deal with it. At least you got a shot, right? And she's leaving. She's walking away from him. And he loses his fucking mind, in my opinion. Because, like, I know you say, like, they're just like, you have kayfabe air around the GMs, right? They're non-contact, right? Like, you don't put hands on Nick Aldis. You don't put hands on, unless, it's, the bald head of, we just were finished talking about him. Adam Pearce, you can pedigree him if you want to. But he deserves it. But Ava is a complete no-fly zone, right? Out of those 3, she is a no-fly, like no contact at all. And he doesn't harm her, but he, grabs at her wrist. Hey, Ava, she says, let go of me. You do not put your hands on me. She was so stern. I was like, oh, shit. And in that interaction, as like all of these competitors are bustling around each other, I do got to look back and see exactly who it was. But Eddie Thorpe is getting the blame because somebody bumps into the door frame and the door swings, hits Ava, knocks her unconscious. Obviously, she's down. I'm just like, oh my god. Then we cut back. HBK. I know you got this as your mid. HBK shows up and he's like, oh my god, checking on Ava. And he's like, Eddie, who did this? Eddie, and throws him up against the.
No, see,
I thought he should. Honestly, I would have like. I thought more was going to happen from HBK, and that's why I pushed it up to Primo, because it would have been mid if HBK just hits him. But I'm just like, yo, you hit Ava, or you're the cause of Ava's harm. This goes above HBK. This goes above HBK. like, hey, is he gonna get a final boss ass whooping? Like, we have not seen. I mean, I know that's a super far cast because The Rock has no business being on NXT at all. But imagine that he doesn't have to come out to the ring or anything. Just him being in a backstage segment. Just imagine him standing in front of Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe is gonna shit his fucking pants. Like, are you kidding me? So
that would be great to see The Rock on NXT.
That's why I put it in Primo, because I was just like, oh shit, and The Rock is gonna fucking whoop some candy ass to NXT.
I have this admit, because like you've literally laid out what happened to a T. My problem is that yes, Eddie did grab Ava. That's a problem. You don't have, even if it's just trying to grab somebody's attention, you don't have to grab anybody like that by their wrist. Fine. Ava's a dumbass for standing in a doorway like that. Second of all, Eddie didn't cause the problem. It's not Eddie's fault. She got up and then she got up and then she was telling Sean, I was talking to Eddie, and then Sean lost it onto Eddie. It was not Eddie. It was one of them OTM niggas.
Mm-hmm.
And they pushed somebody else into the door. Why is Ava standing in the middle of a doorway? Go ask her.
Because Eddie distracted her.
Did Eddie? What do you mean distracted? First of all, no. First of all, actually, fuck this. Ava, you're on the fucking Reggie, because you know what? You're the general manager, and you just let 12 motherfuckers just outside your office just yap. No, control that shit. This would have never happened if she put her foot down and be like, yo, I need y'all to shut the hell up.
It wasn't an issue when she left. They were excited. They were excited. When she left, everybody was happy. Eddie Thorpe was the only one who was not happy. And obviously, we got to go arguing. We got to go with the story anyway. We know what's in front of our eyes. It's Eddie Thorpe's fault. Like, that's the story. It's Eddie Thorpe's fault.
It's not. It's one of those OTM dudes that pushed whoever else into the door.
We're smart, but the story that they're telling
Sean
us.
overreacted, and he tried to act like, oh, I protect women. I protect women. Fake ass.
Yeah.
Ava,
that was my Primo.
You get a Reggie this week, because you could have did it. You taking lessons from Adam Pearce when you need to be going to that Nick Aldis school of general managing.
He's been a good general manager. She has been a good, and like I said, when she left the situation, everybody was happy. And the chaos started after she left, and Eddie Thorpe grabs her. So either way, let's move on. But I get you on your
review. Point. We'll come back to it next week. This will be
yeah, we'll see. You gotta see the continuation of that story. Fallon, well, let's go with what we agree with. The Iron Survivor qualification. Julia winning over Kaylani. Kaylani's great in the ring.
Yeah, it's expected. They're both great. Kalani's really great. There was one thing that I didn't like. Julia hit her with like I forget the name of the move, but like it's like little pile driver kind of modified pile driver kind of move.
The Michinoku driver, I think you're talking about.
It may have been a Michinoku driver or a form or a variation of it, but like Kalani immediately just kind of rolled up back and went for the pin. I'm like, you didn't even sell that.
Yeah. Yeah. She immediately got hit. Yeah.
She immediately hit the move, and then Kalani went right into the pinfall. I'm like, you just took a like a pile driver, a Michinoku driver. Like, how would you even immediately go into the pin? Yeah. Like, what advantage do you have to go into a pinfall like that? So that's my only gripe about it. But overall, it's like, yeah, we knew Julia was going to get there. I imagine Kalani, Jada Parker, and whoever else is in the last Iron Survivor match is
Mhm.
gonna make it. I don't know. It's gonna be either between. I think it's probably gonna be Kalani because according to my shake, we'll get to that. But it seems like Kalani and
Mm.
Jada Parker and Lola Vice are gonna be getting back in the ring together.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, what do you think about
Uh,
Julia and Kalani?
that's my thought was just all about their technical ability in the ring and how smooth like Kaylani looks. I mean,
Hmm.
we always talk about how much she's been improving, and like it felt like they were on. This was an even match. You know what I'm saying? From a technical standpoint, I mean, they're working with each other. They're making each other look good, and all of it just worked for me. Like as just far as a TV match, continuing the story going or the tournament going. That's where I was not surprised, but Kaylani has more of a shot against Julia than any other woman on the roster because we're talking about the first, North American women's champion. So it's like
Yeah,
she's just coming off of being like legitimately established. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So uh
I will say
that's where
this
I was
match
just
kind of
glad to
is a
see that.
good future like projection of like what the women's division could be like. Just because like we talk about size a lot, and
Mhm.
both of these women have like the perfect size as far as like you're not too small, but you're not like big big. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're not like big where you look like you could be positioned as like a monster, like like one of those like even Jade or Charlotte, even to a degree, or like they're very
Mhm.
big and bigger in stature, where it's like okay, you get booked like a kind of like a monster heel or a monster,
Yeah.
and then you got
Yeah.
the other end of the spectrum with like Liv and Zelina and Alexa Bliss, where it's like okay, you guys are kind of like the Rey Mysterios. These are like as far as body type, it's like, okay, yeah, like y'all are like right in the middle where it's like you're bigger than even Becky Lynch. They make Becky
Yeah.
Lynch look kind of small.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, you guys are muscular. Even Tiffany Stratton, I'm like, Tiffany is muscular. Like she
Yeah.
is fit. She's like a body, like, body fitness person.
Competitive. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Competitive
okay,
body.
there's a good it's like a bunch of Seth Rollins, it seems like. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we got like a nice amount of like mid-sized people that like okay y'all can dabble in the tall space, but y'all can also dabble in like the
Yeah.
agility space. So
Just the general or all around build from like when you
yeah,
start
yeah,
a 2K build.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um
Uh, for me, the return of Gigi Dolan after Fallon Henley retained her title against Tatum Paxley. Um, sort of reigniting because that is actually Fatal Attraction was um, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and
mhm, Mandy.
uh, Mandy. Yeah. So that's their rivalry. So I'm like, okay, all right, we getting Gigi back. I liked Gigi when she was, turned face after they all broke up and everything. I honestly can't recall how long she's been gone, but I have noticed that she's been gone. So cool to see her back. Uh,
Yeah, was that
obviously coming
like
for the title.
I assume it's like a real injury, maybe like an ACL or something like that?
Something. I can look that up. But yeah,
I
that's all
also
I
see
had for my. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I also see you have Ethan Page over Axiom and your Iron Survivor qualifications.
Yeah. I mean, this was another obvious one. Ethan Page is winning this, right? But
Yeah.
just the him working base like that because he gave him an ego's edge and like just lariats his head off to finish him, and I was just like, God damn! All right, this is like when you talk about sizes, right? I'm like, yeah, that's believable because he has a legit, I don't know, 40 pounds on him, something like that, 40, 50. So it's like you're not JBL like a obvious heavyweight because JBL is like what build at like a legit like 260 or something like that.
Yeah.
But just clash of styles, a good old clothesline or lariat does it for me. That's why I like Jamie Hayter, the Haterade. The finisher works for me.
Um, I will get into my shake as you look up what happened to Gigi Dolan.
Oh yeah.
Um, my shake is Lola Vice after getting her win against who did she face? Was that a Iron Survivor Classic? Uh,
You said
yeah, Lil Vice, she beat Ren Sinclair,
Ren Sinclair. Yeah.
and after the match, while she was in the ring, she kind of gave a little warning to Jada Parker that, like, they'll see each other very soon, and next time it's going to be in the underground.
Mm.
So
I didn't catch this, so I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't see this at all.
yeah. It's like, it's after the match, and she's just kind of speaking to the camera without a mic. So it's like,
Mm.
it was a 5-second little thing, but yeah, she basically was like, her and Jada Parker are going to be in an NXT Underground sometime soon. So
Hmm.
last time we saw Lola Vice in the Underground, that was against Shayna Baszler, and that was a great match.
She won. Yeah.
Yeah, so Lola Vice versus Jada Parker in the Underground.
Cool.
Put
And
that. I'll put that in my little ticket holder, and when that comes,
yeah.
save that to my
And it
wall.
was for Gigi Dolan. It was a torn ACL. She's been out since March, so this is her first appearance since then.
About 9 months.
Yeah, well, long ass time. For lastly, my Reggie. I don't even need to go in. It was just Reggie because I literally do not care. But in the segment of Trick Williams, that obviously our NXT champion, we got Ridge Holland standing on the ramp, and them getting into it, just like, "Hey, I'm number one contender. I'm gonna beat your ass." Usual shit. And then Eric Bischoff appears on the screen, and he's like, "I'm gonna be on NXT next week to
Yeah.
talk to you guys." And I'm like, "Why?" Like, and he says to figure out what makes you guys tick. I don't care to see Eric Bischoff on NXT. I'm not mad at it. Like, it's not personally like I don't like Eric Bischoff. I am truly I think it worked for us, like, when we were younger. But that's where I think the disconnect is, where it's like, would they be aware? Like, NXT is literally targeted towards younger wrestling fans. And we got Eric Bischoff from, like, not to say it's super long ago. Obviously, we remember the Monday Night Wars, but I'm like, would they even care? Like, I think fans like
you
us
say
would care.
AEW's targeted to younger audience, and I'm like, they got Sting, Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake,
What?
Christian. Like, what are we? It's the same
Wait,
shit.
I would say it's, well, yeah, actually, yeah, it is the same thing. But either way, I just think it doesn't fit here. I guess.
It
Like, I was
doesn't
just
fit
fine
either.
with
Like, to me,
Ridge, and
when I saw Eric Bischoff, I was like,
it's just
that's
so
weird.
out of nowhere.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
didn't.
so
I
out of
don't.
nowhere.
Yeah.
That's
The only thing
that's
that
the only
makes sense
reason.
for me is that, like, Eric Bischoff is, like, people do listen to his podcast, and he has a lot
Yeah.
of takes on, like, AEW, and, like, he literally had an episode on, like, how would you book AEW?
Mhm.
And he's not a fan of AEW. I mean, not saying he's not a fan of AEW. He's not a fan of Tony.
Mhm.
And I think he sees that there's things with the AEW product that could be better. So I don't know if this is more tribalism things that are happening. I
Maybe.
don't know. But, like, it threw me off to see Eric Bischoff just randomly pop up. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's gonna do, or I don't know. It just seems like the holiday kind of like, hey, let's just get us to January.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, and I know that's exactly what it is. Like, I know this is y'all just stretching it out for like another week until we get to the match, but I'm just like, y'all could have just, I don't know. I guess I'm just like, I don't care to see Eric Bischoff. I just think he doesn't fit right there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
not griping on him, but I just thought it was like,
Sean Waltman
what?
and X Pac is supposed to be at NXT next week as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's going to be there in official capacity as like on television, but he did say on Twitter that he is going to be at NXT this coming week, next week.
For sure. All right,
Anything
I'm
else
done.
from the bodega?
No, I'm done with the bodega. Let's go. Your current event.
Current event. Yeah. I guess two current events here. First one that came across my timeline was formerly known as Xia Li signs with TNA. And she's going by, I think, her maiden name, her real name, Lei Ying Li. That's what's up. I was a fan of Xia Li and WWE. I thought that they should have gave her a little bit more of a chance, but I think she kind of got put in this, like, I'm not gonna say that like that her gimmick was bad. It just didn't translate. It's kind of like I would equate it to like Kairi Sane when she was like the pirate princess. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a little too childish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think like, you know, like if there was something that like, because Xia Li works out, she's a badass. Like I said, she could have been in a great group with like Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Xia Li.
Yeah.
And them just being like badass women that just are like shoot fighters. But again, like I think TNA is a great spot, especially for a woman to head to, because they just seem to have their shit together. And there's a lot of good talent. So it's more of just like, hey, shout out to Xia Li. Hopefully it works out the best over at in TNA. And I'll look forward to seeing you in matches over there. Hopefully fighting for the TNA title.
I'm sure
Another
she'll.
signing.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I didn't know there's another signing. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, another signing apparently that happened. I feel like we talked about this, and maybe he just made his debut. But Matt Riddle also signed to TNA. Last
Oh,
night
okay.
there was a TNA Turning Point, and he made his debut. So just wanted to call that out as well. So Xia Li
Okay.
and Matt Riddle, both in TNA.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, I mean, RK Bro was probably the best thing that Matt Riddle did like the whole time. Like, I did find his character endearing somewhat. And Xia Li, I agree. I think she just caught in the logjam of like, no direction from like the women's mid card.
And then
Because the
the
unfortunate
old
thing is
cast
like
not knowing how to direct and produce
yeah,
Eastern Asian talent.
very, very much so. Because it's sad that my lasting memory of Xia Li, like my first thought when I see this and you bring her up, is her Royal Rumble appearance, 2023 or 2022. And she comes out with her like katanas and she's like on the ramp with them. And like my first thought was, I think it was me and Corey Graves said it like 2 or 3 seconds apart. And I was like, bro, you can't bring those down to the ring. Like she's coming down with like knives in her hand. I'm like, yo, you can't do that. Like, and then I'm pretty sure Corey is like, yo, she's not going to harm anybody with those, is she? Like, those aren't legal. And of course, she just ditches him. But yeah, she will definitely have like a more defined character and like maybe actually speaking time in TNA.
Yeah.
We'll get to know who she is. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.
Anything on Matt?
RK Bro, I mentioned it first. Like that was the best thing that he did.
But expect anything out of him at TNA?
I mean, sure, he can be X Division champion. Not right now because Moose is. He's not beating Moose at all. But I don't know, digital media champion, whatever. I mean, the same way that like you say, you don't keep up with AEW, you don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what's going on during TNA. Like we know that these names are coming in, and we know that they're big because they used to be on WWE. What you do with them is up to your show. So it's like, I would say I'm more excited for Xia Li than Matt Riddle for sure. Like, so that's why I left it at RK Bro. That's why I left it at RK Bro. Like that's my impression of him. That's the best run he was on.
All right, let's head into this coffee shop. AEW Dynamite Thanksgiving Eve. Pretty loaded card. I'm pretty sure we got the start of the Continental Classic this week.
Yes.
And that in general was I have this as mid-rising just for the fact that like I could individually place all of these matches that were related to the Continental Classic, but they are all kind of mid. They were all good, but they were all kind of like, finished the way you kind of expected. There wasn't anything so surprising for me. But the matches were good. They were entertaining. So as a first night for the Continental Classic, I thought it was a great start. And so I give it a mid-rising in general.
It's funny because like as I'm like watching it, like I had to hold back saying that this is my favorite tournament concept because obviously the G1 exists and the King of the Ring has obviously been so hit or miss, like just throughout history. Obviously it's historic, but what takes it out of the wind out of the sails for me is that when we did this last year and the Continental Classic was first established, we got Eddie Kingston that wins. It just so happens that at that point in time, he was Ring of Honor World Champion and he was New Japan Strong Champion. And he put all of those titles on the line to make himself, Triple Crown and all that stuff. And we got the Continental Championship. I thought that meant this is why it's not the best. I thought that meant that the Continental Champion was also entering in order to defend it. You know what I
Like
mean?
Okada entered?
Like, no, I think he's at the end. Like, this is
Okay.
all for a shot. And that's what took, because you were crowning the champion the first time. So obviously that makes sense. But all of this is for a title shot. And I'm like, God damn. Like, because I think even the storytelling of just that, like, imagine, and Okada calls himself the best tournament wrestler of all time because he's won 4 G1 climaxes in New Japan. Then I'm like, imagine Okada, obviously winning it in a regular match, but then you also have to defend it once this time of year comes around, just through the tournament, just through all of these matches. So it's like, oh, if you finish with the most points and you keep your title, if you don't, then the title's up in the air for whoever's in the finals.
Yeah.
And coming to find out that that's not the case, I'm like, damn, like this would be probably my favorite. But either way, that's too long-winded just to say that I really like the Continental Classic. My favorite thing on this show was part of the Continental Classic. It's Brody King versus Darby Allin 3 for the third time, or 4, I can't remember. Brody comes out with the win. And what I thought was great was how we've seen this, like, there are still nuanced characters, like, there's obviously stupid gimmicks and shit like that, but you can still have like like Brody King is, I think, a great nuanced character in the cracks of AEW, where just this character work of Brody King got put on the map by choking out Darby Allin and winning like a title shot like last year or like a year and a half ago. And since then, we've grown to know that they're from the same area of Washington, which I didn't know that until like just this, they mentioned it again on commentary. But really, when Claudio comes down at the end of the match with the steel chair, obviously about to beat the shit out of Darby for backstabbing the Death Riders, you just get Brody King standing there, like stand and watch like a guard dog. Like, no, you ain't fucking with the frenemy. Like, this has been a full circle of frenemies, and I'm like, oh, okay, I fuck with this because it's like we not in the same faction, we not even boys, but it's just that Warriors respect. That's like that Warriors code or whatever. So that's why I put it in primo. That I'm like, okay, Brody's there's he's not just a heel to like a random heel just to let a random face get beat up. There is a history here, so I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good match. I could have sworn I
Oh yeah,
thought Darby had won that, but maybe I
the-
just
the- yeah, good match. But I'll say that Gonzo bomb is so sick. Every single time I watch Darby take one of those, he just gets folded up like an accordion on his neck, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like Spike Dudley of AEW. Seriously, like, come on, man. Uh, yeah, I mean, you just have mids, all Continental Classic matches. I'll just run through them. We'll keep it short. J- uh, Shit, where I have that up here. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Shelton. I put it on Shake for mine, but yeah, I had Shelton and Mark Briscoe. Shelton getting the W over Mark Briscoe. Appropriate. We're still establishing, Hurt Syndicate as threats. So,
Yeah.
and man, like we can just go on and on about Shelton, like wrestling legend, but like doing the fucking like basically the Braun Breaker, run up the ropes Frankensteiner, but run up the ropes superplex. Give it to me every time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not taking it, but I just love that move in his like repertoire.
He also has like the Brock Lesnar German suplex where he looks like he's about to break your neck.
Yeah.
Because he did that twice back to back to Mark Briscoe. I was like, ah, damn.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Exactly.
ref, go check on Mans.
Exactly. Uh Jamie Hayter winning over Queen Aminata. I have this as mid rising because like we're right at the point of like, all right, because Queen Aminata, she's worked like in this year, she's worked herself from Rampage to Collision to Dynamite. And it's like she's clear. Like I think we just need to focus on the character now. Like if we can hear her talk and like gimmick her out just a slight bit more touch to like really get her over with the crowd, we're right there. Because it's like in the ring, it's not even a question. I think because naturally she's getting over. Um, you see that match? What you think of her?
No, yeah, I saw clips of it from the highlights. It was good. It was actually a really good match. I probably would have had it again. It probably would have fell into mid as well, so it's probably just
Mm.
counted as mid rising. But I mean, yeah, I think that's what I was saying. Women advances the International Women's Cup 4-way qualifier. So again, another
That's what it. International Women's Cup. Okay, sure.
yeah, it's another tournament. But no, yeah, I would have liked to see Queen Aminata win. I'm familiar with her through like name, so it's kind of interesting to hear you talk about like having her gimmicked out a little bit more and talking. Like, does she not cut promos like that?
Not, I mean, not that I've seen. She has, if anything, she hasn't said anything emphatic like as a character outside of like, I'm a face, like general face. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
it's like I don't know what her motivation is yet,
Is there like a
outside of just
language
being a good
barrier?
wrestler.
Like, is she not from
No,
here or?
no, she speaks
Okay.
English.
That's what I'm like.
No, not at all. She- they just haven't been given it like a lot of character, defining shit with her. So,
I will
and
say, and this is not anything regarded to her. It's a general comment with AEW. There's just not a lot of good mic work.
yeah, hmm
Like
even like,
I wasn't a fan
sorry,
of like the promo that like MVP gave before the Shelton Benjamin match
mm,
against Mark Briscoe, but I'm like, you could tell this dude was on the mic at WWE.
yeah,
Like the substance of what he was saying wasn't the greatest, but the delivery of it, I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy is able to. He
yeah,
he knows how to talk on a mic.
yeah, for sure.
But there's not a lot of mic talking. But I don't know what you guys do. Maybe you got to get more promo classes built into your regimen over there
hmm
at AEW.
Yeah. And the last thing I had was for my mids was uh Hangman and Switchblade. They get taken out by the Death Riders. And
Yeah,
I just thought it was great selling by Switchblade. Oh yeah, that was before the Claudio and Ricochet match, which was great also. But
yeah,
I just thought that was so fucking funny where like he gets for a quick second, Jay White, gets Marina Shafir in the Blade
yeah,
Runner position. I'm like, oh shit. Because you just hear the whole crowd. That's always such a touch and go thing where I believe in kayfabe. Like we know that
yeah,
these are professionals, and like I'm not saying we have to have intergender tag, championships or anything, but women can work with men, or they can
yeah.
have
She could have took the
interaction
move.
and physical. She could have taken that.
She
Like
could have
I
took the
want like
move.
electricity shot through my body for a second. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh shit. But
And that's the thing. Like, I get why we don't do it anymore, but I'm like, come on, man. Like, that's what made Stone Cold so cool because he was equal opportunity with the stunner.
exactly, exactly.
Anybody
Like
won't get the stunner. And I'm like,
we,
to your point, it's like this is working. And it's the fact that like he can't do her move on her, but she could choke him out.
yeah, right. But we believe that because it's the carotid artery. He's cutting off the oxygen to the brain. Yeah, we believe that. Sure. All right,
I'm not even
great. But
saying
he can't.
like I'm not even saying like she can't choke him out. I'm saying like she could choke him out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'm saying we're willing to
but he
believe
can't
that.
hit
But
her. He can't hit her
yeah,
move, his move.
yeah. Like he
And
can
then
never get
and
the
it's
jump
funny,
on
it's
her.
funny.
Mm-mm.
After he choked her, after she choked him out, she like got up and walked away. And then the
Yeah.
three dudes just started stomping him out. And then she's like, "Oh, my bad. I need to turn around and like, help out with the stomping." I'm like,
And that's where I was
okay.
like, the selling from him was just so great because he was just dead. Like he didn't like, usually when they get kicked, they like flinch, like
Yeah.
I mean, he was laying flat, like didn't move a muscle, and he just continued stomping him.
Yo,
So
I need
yeah,
that's again, this is not anything saying that we need to abuse women. But I'm like, it's wrestling.
exactly. That's
It's
all I mean.
wrestling. They practice this stuff with each other. I watched Jordan Grace practice with her husband.
Exactly.
Like,
Come on now.
come on now. They could take a move.
Yeah, one time. Like Nia was in the men's Royal Rumble. Remember? Like, come on now. Like this shit happens.
They make it they almost make it seem like, oh, if a man hit a woman on this thing, she's automatically dead. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
she'll be
basically.
fine. She be
Yeah.
fine. Like, it's a
Just
wrestling.
give her a 1950s head wrap like the next week. Just like
Do you think we could
just
even get like a submission? Do you think a man could put the figure four on a woman?
yes, I believe that. And I believe he would break her leg.
I'm talking about like as far as like, the show, not in real
Yes,
life.
yeah, you could do that. Like
Do you
that's
think
why
they
I'm upset. I
would?
think
Or are we too far gone?
Oh,
Are we too
okay,
far
okay.
gone from
I
doing
think
that?
there's more psychology in a submission. So I would say no. I would say that's because just like how we say, if you pass out, that's more definitive than getting pinned. I think it's better for a woman just to
We're
take
not
like
even
a
talking about
bump.
a match. You can't even put somebody in a sharpshooter,
Yeah, I know.
an
Because they
ankle
won't let
lock.
they won't, nothing. I don't think that'll happen. No,
You can't put Maxine in an ankle
definitely.
lock and have her walking in a fucking boot with her fucking Jamiroquai hats.
Yeah,
Come on now.
he definitely was doing that
Chad
for a while.
Gable, Chad Gable Ben should have put the ankle lock on Maxine.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That's the wrestling I
nonetheless,
wish for. But yeah, that's it. That's all I had from the coffee shop, though.
my last bit from the coffee shop was Camille quits working for Mercedes.
Yeah.
And this was interesting because I think I was scrolling through Twitter when I first came across this, and then I saw how it happened. But I'm like, when I first saw it, it was like I think Brian Alvarez
Mhm.
from one of those wrestling gossip
I think he's from
journalists.
Fightful.
Maybe, yeah, one of them or something like that. Or either
Yeah.
way, he said that I think this might be like I don't think we see Camille for a while, or she might be gone.
Mm.
And that was before I saw how it played out. And he was saying that like it was because it was so abrupt, it came out of nowhere, and she just kind of like walked away. And I'm like, okay, maybe. And then other people were speculating maybe the injury is legit, and
Yeah.
they were like it was gonna take a little bit longer to heal up than they anticipated. So they were like, we'll just write you off, and then you'll come back.
Yeah.
But if you see how it played out, I'm like, it doesn't seem like there's anything to move forward with between Camille and Mercedes. Because she just
That's why.
walked away, and then Mercedes was like, "How could you?" Blah 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 blah, and it's just like there wasn't anything that led to me that this was going to continue in the further. This just seemed like she just left. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what this is. That's why it's in shake.
Mhm.
It's just kind of interesting. I hope it's the latter, and not to say that an injury is bad, but it's like, I mean, either way, like if she doesn't feel happy and she wants to do something else, like by all means. But like, it just seemed very. It was an odd segment. It was an odd
Well,
segment to put it the least.
yeah, yeah. Because I would also say, like, I didn't think about it, the injury being like legit, but yeah, because that's why I brought it up, like about the last at Full Gear, because I'm like, oh, is she gonna turn? But that's not even a turn. That's I quit. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is very abrupt feeling, because I would think that that's literally you're 2 or 3 days away from that. You could have done it on the pay-per-view.
Mhm.
So the fact that you didn't, it's like, okay, that gives credence to maybe it actually is an injury, or at least that makes sense in my head. So
Yeah, I could believe that it could be like, oh yeah, we thought this was a little bit more,
we thought it was a
not as
month and it ends
serious.
up,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
ended up being like maybe you might actually need surgery rather than not having
yeah.
surgery, whatever it may be. So it was just an interesting, and it was just odd how it played out. But I mean, same thing with Tony. If you feel like you want to move on, like by all means, it's your life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
and if it's injury, get well soon, and hopefully you recover 100%.
Excuse me.
Anything else from the coffee shop?
I am good.
All right, let's move over to Thursday, and we got a short book of wrestling this week.
Yeah, I didn't put in
One
that much
topic.
effort, but I was like, this is the best one.
The book of wrestling. And this one is an interesting one, to say the least, a historic one as far as
Yep.
WWE lore goes. I'll let you take it.
No, I was gonna say you can have it. I was literally gonna say that.
Okay. November 29, 1999. So yesterday, Triple H ruins the wedding. On an episode of Raw, the wedding between Stephanie McMahon and Test was interrupted by Triple H, who played a video revealing that he secretly married an intoxicated Stephanie McMahon at a drive-through Las Vegas wedding chapel in Vegas. The whole thing was later to be revealed to be a plot between the new Mr. and Mrs. McMahon Helmsley.
Which we don't even need to reference or bring up the video. Like that's in lore, like you said. That's in that's in stone. Like one
Yeah.
of the we just seen it so much, and it's like he just
as
passed
far as
out.
like
Like
WWE kayfabe story, this is probably the most pivotal, one of the most
yeah.
pivotal moments in kayfabe storyline is Triple H marrying Stephanie, and then obviously how that actually played out in real life because they weren't even dating at this time.
Hey,
They were just
the tangle webs we weave.
they didn't start dating until like 2 years after this. So
It's interesting. Hey, people fall in love at work. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, remember?
yeah,
And Brad
but,
and Angelina. So
obviously the segment doesn't really age well, especially when you see like, oh yeah, he like gave
yeah.
her, he poured
He
some
like
Molly in her
roofied her.
drink. Yeah, he put Molly in her drink. She didn't even know it. Like,
Yeah. And consummated. And he was like, oh yeah, that definitely happened.
Yeah, she was all passed out on the car. Just like, oh yes,
Yeah.
I do. It's like, yo, y'all are terrible. But this
Funny as
this
hell.
man agreed to the storyline. But it kind of also like Stephanie at the wedding played it out well because she was just like bawling in tears. I hate you. I hate you. But I also like how it kind of all culminated at Armageddon in a couple weeks later when it was Triple H versus Vince McMahon, and it looked like that's when Stephanie fully turned on her father, and she hit her father with the sledgehammer, or at least she gave either she hit her father with the sledgehammer or she gave Triple H the sledgehammer to hit her father with. But that was a very shocking moment too. At least for me, my 9-year-old self at the time, I'm like, oh, what? That's wild. But who would have thought that this actually would be a real marriage 4 years later? That turns into these
three
two
daughters.
these two motherfuckers now run the goddamn company, or at least the wrestling side of the company. They're but it's crazy how it all started. So that is the week of wrestling. This week in wrestling, and I think we'll probably start picking those back up a little bit more once we turn the new year. But it's the holidays. Things are mad short on the holidays, so not a lot of eventful stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's also the trick of not hitting the same story notes that's really the thing, because it's like this past week we just had all Survivor Series stuff.
I'm already thinking, I'm like, oh, like, do we want to talk about it this year or do we want to talk about it next year? Like, do we just want to put everything? I'm like, this is that's not big enough. We can wait till next year. We can't waste all of our this week in wrestling in 1 year. So we'll keep it like this week and move over to the bodega. Last night.
All right, I'm just gonna point out we keep in good time right now. We still got to get the predictions. We got hour 27 in.
Yeah, right.
We're killing it.
Well,
we're killing it.
We could jam through because this was the go home show for Survivor Series. That was taped last week. So this was another taped episode. We agree a lot on the primos in that were bloodline related. We'll start with the cinematic vignette or promo of Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Punk. These cinematic promos are really good. My only gripe would be is that sometimes it feels a little overly dramatic.
You took the word out of my head. Like they made it seem like obviously it's a Godfather scene, like the setting that they give us. It's like, oh, the ultimate meeting of like these two monsters. So it's like, I understand what they're doing, but it's like y'all are really heavy-handed with it. Yeah, I agree.
It's more, the music is what kind of made it weigh a little bit more heavier than it needed to be. And I'm like, y'all can just either not have the music or just keep the volume low. But it was just like so like in your face with it. I'm like, a little too much. But the overall substance of what we got as far as the conversations, I thought was worthwhile, and I thought it was done. I thought it was really good. It sways probably my opinion on what's going to happen tonight in the WarGames match. I thought it was a different way, but based off of how this conversation played out, I think I might sway a different way than I initially anticipated. But what also gets me is that with these specifically, and this is specifically towards the bloodline, because not everybody's going to be doing these cinematic vignettes or promos like this. But it gets to me because, like, what would this be like if this happened in the ring? Right?
Mhm.
This promo could have probably been the same if it just happened in the ring. But like, so why are we doing it backstage? Why are we doing it in a private room? Right. And it's like, okay, like this is kind of how Paul Heyman works, right? It's like this is how they work. It's like first, we're gonna have a meeting to ourselves and have a conversation about it. Right. And then if something happens to happen outside in the ring in front of the public, it's kind of reached a boiling point. Right. So that's kind of where I'm kind of deciphering it as far as why do we get something like this that happens backstage compared to like, oh, but traditionally this would have just happened in the ring.
Mhm.
But I think that's where we're kind of trying to stretch out the not stretch out in a bad way, but you're kind of adding, I guess, detail to the story by saying, like, look, we try to take a professional approach by this and having a grown man discussion where we each laid our side of the table, our chips on the table, right? And if it ever got into a situation where CM Punk is calling out Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring, we've reached a place where we've gone past talking.
Yeah.
So that's where I think a lot of these, especially within the, bloodline cinematic universe, I think it works really well because it's like anytime we get into these things, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a little bit of overly dramatic. It could be too cinematic in some cases, but what we're really getting out here is that like these people are taking the necessary precautions to not let this boil over more than needs to be. And if it does boil over, then you know that there's no going back. So that's why I have this in primo, not only for this segment, but just what they do with these cinematic promos in regards to the bloodline. So thoughts?
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I already got him out there about I like the cinematics, like personally. Like they work in every promotion. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as I'm concerned, like as long as they're done well. Um, I would say really my question as you were explaining like this would be happening in the ring, my thought is like, why do we get to see this? Because yeah, I agree this is how Paul Heyman works. But I'm saying like, why do we get to see this glimpse of
Oh
him
yeah,
working?
that's TV.
Well, yeah, that's just
Yeah.
TV, obviously.
In
But
real
that's
life,
where
you
my
wouldn't.
hang
Yeah,
up
in real
is.
life, you
Yeah,
wouldn't see this conversation. I get your point.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's my hang up. But I still enjoyed the segment. But yeah, you laid it out great. Um,
it's like, would we see
I
Cody and
like the
Roman
quote.
talk in the middle of the field at Georgia Tech? Not really.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
something. That's something that would have been that would have been something that would have been told to us is like Roman and Cody met at the 50-yard line at the Georgia Tech Stadium, this, that, and the third, and laid out their feelings. Like they would have just relayed that conversation to us rather than us actually seeing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
hmm And then the last interesting part that I wanted to point out is just the fact of the ellipsis on the end of this conversation is the fact that apparently uh not Roman, but Heyman owes CM Punk a favor for helping
yeah,
Roman, or for not helping him, or not helping Roman, helping Heyman. This is helping Heyman as far as
our
CM Punk
he
sees
says
it. So,
our wise man.
or yeah, exactly. So that's the last button I wanted to put on that. But yeah, great cinematic segment. The other primo that we agree on, Jacob Fatu beating Jay Uso in the War Games advantage match. I thought it was
My
great that
Jacob
they point out
Fatu.
that this is his first solo match. I was like,
Oh,
dang, we've
was it?
gone this long. This is his first
Wow.
solo match he's had.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I mean I have Jacob Fatu here as primo just for his entire appearance on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Um, he came out and destroyed MCMG and Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, just like one
hmm
man. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, he
And
did
then
that.
you come out and then you destroy Jey Uso. It's like hell of a
Your
night.
family.
And for me, it made me think. I'm like, How many times have we seen like Jacob Fatu sell? And I'm not saying this as a bad thing. I'm saying this as like he's been really protected as far as like who he is, and like even when someone does hit him, like Ciampa hit him up with a DDT, and he just looked right up at him.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He's
there's
getting
not
away
too many.
with the no sell. He's getting away with the no
Yeah,
sell as
there's
far as
not
a
too many
monster, the way
cases
they've
where
been
he's
booking him.
like he's had to actually sell a move. So I'm like, as it's going right now, like they're doing a hell of a job, like selling this dude as like an unstoppable monster.
Mm.
And so I thought this was a great episode for him as far as just like, just showing that dominance and, just being a monster.
Yeah,
Like
being the
again,
enforcer.
they're doing a great job with him and Bronson Reed. But Jacob Fatu, like I said, I can't think of many times I actually seen him actually just like sell a move.
Yeah. And this is, I would argue, just to go to your point, this is probably the most he's ever sold in a match. Because he still hasn't been pinned. And just in a straight up one-on-one, like, I mean, that's cousin. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
obviously, like, you're going to put on the show for him. But like, how many times do we see him get like super kicked and he's just wobbly? You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
never goes down. But like you said, like, that's just been his history up to now. But he went down a few times right here. But like I said, that triple jump moonsault, that's a wrap for your ass. Like, that shit is, and he hits it perfectly every time. But that was great. Primo. My last primo, I don't know if you saw this, but just KO's wrap-up promo.
Yeah.
Like, it was just 2 minutes, and it's like, this is why I'm mad at Cody. So, and here's like my whole timeline before Cody got here. And January 21st, 2021, they beat the shit out of me. And then like they beat the shit out of me again. And then 2 years ago in the Royal Rumble, they handcuffed me to this shit and forced my best friend to beat the shit out of me. And then the next time I see them, you stand in the ring with them. And it's like, all right, perfect wrap up. That's why that's primo. Because it's like, all right, that's the full on, just clear cut, perfect right before the pay-per-view. And that's why I say his percentage went up. It was literally just because of that wrap up that I'm like, okay, we made it a lot heavier with just this package and then the promo that they did last week.
I mean, I've been hearing people talk about like, hey, you think Cody might lose it just for the fact that like we haven't had a situation where like, okay, yeah, Cody, this is a legit chance for Cody to lose. It's like, okay, yeah, we know Cody's gonna keep it until WrestleMania. So like, I guess how many times can we feel that way where it's like, yeah, this guy's gonna hold the belt until next WrestleMania. So there's no really intrigue to be like, oh, is this gonna be no, it doesn't matter. So like, I wouldn't be like, Kevin hasn't had a title in so long.
Like 7 years, I think, is the number. Like 7 or 8 years.
And
Since
even
that
if
was
he
the
holds
Universal title.
even if he holds it until like Elimination Chamber, wouldn't that like that's got to be something, man. These next 2 weeks are going to be really interesting as far as to see how that plays out. In the mids,
yeah, for sure.
Shinsuke beating Andrade and then missing LA Knight. I was actually surprised that the match ended clean. Shinsuke, well,
clean enough, clean as a heel, clean as a heel.
Clean as a heel. But the fact that Shinsuke actually got the win. This was his first match back. So, Andrade, he's been, in the contention for the US title and things of that nature. I figured something would have happened to just kind of leave that at a no DQ, but Shinsuke got the win. And then he immediately missed it LA Knight in a very smooth manner. Like he just kind of like sidestepped him and was like, ooh. He was like, oh, snap. And then
I replayed that at least like 5 times. Like you literally don't even see the mist. Like, or at least I didn't. I think it's because he's wearing all black and it's black mist he's shooting, and it's like, you just don't even see it. I was like, what? You just see LA Knight on covered it in his face.
And again, similar to the Bloodline, New Bloodline versus OG Bloodline, I think this might have swayed my prediction for tonight. I'll hold that. I'll hold that thought. But this was interesting. The fact that technically this was last night, this was a week ago, but this happened. LA Knight was misted last night.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And this is Shinsuke's second match. Interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that till we get to our Survivor Series WarGames predictions. But I thought that was an interesting match. Great. I'm glad Shinsuke won. Interested to see what happens tonight, especially after the events of last night.
And new modified entrance, the last period on
Yeah,
that too.
and new music.
Yep. New modified, the same music. Yeah. It's like, Triple H uses this. It's still been the same song. It's just like the different parts.
Yeah.
Like different like remix of like that same shit that we're used to.
I saw somebody posted that Team Bad, Naomi, Tamina, and what was it, Sasha?
Oh, yeah.
Their intro music is apparently the Street Profits music.
Is it? Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely forgot about that faction for a bit there. I'm like, oh yeah, you snapped me back right there.
It popped up on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then
We both
I
have
have
the exact reverse of each other for the last mid and shake.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah. Yeah, I mean my mid was Cody beating Carmelo, and it's simply just like we knew the wrestling was gonna be good. We know the outcome. It's nice to see Melo get some shine, but it was never any doubt. So I'll keep it
Yeah.
at that. I just keep it that simple. It probably could have been Shake for that reason as well, but it was just like it's nice to see Melo get that look.
Yeah, just be in the ring actually with the WWE champion, because that's what that's
Yeah.
about, really. But like you said, the reason I was thinking about it's in shake, you already said it. Never a doubt.
Never
But
a
just
doubt.
to see Carmelo like sell, spiking his head into the ground for a crossroads like RVD does for an
Yeah.
RKO, it's just great. And the other reverse that we got flipped is Michin advancing in the U.S. Women's tournament
Yeah.
over Lash Legend and Piper Niven, which just figuring out that Lash's finisher, what the name is?
Lashed out? I don't know.
Lash extensions.
Okay.
Because it's that like sideways, like gory suplex grip. It's almost like a
Yeah.
crucifix grip, but then she just, twists you into it's like a side gory special, basically, that she flips you into. Way better than the moneymaker because she's actually big enough to do it. You know what I'm saying? So way more convincing. But yeah, Lash showed out. Lash showed
Yeah.
out for sure in this match.
Yeah. I have this
That was
as
really
Shake.
my takeaway.
Yeah, I have this as Shake. I say shout out to said Michin advances, which I think that's what we both wanted. I think at least I had Michin as a potential finalist in the U.S. Women's Championship tournament. So it's not a shocking for me to have her see win this match. But I want to give a shout out to Lash Legend because this was almost basically a Lash Legend Piper Niven match that Michin kind of came in at the last second and kind of got the win. But hey, you get it how you get it. But hey, in that moment, in those moments where it was Piper versus Lash looked good. Lash looked really good, and it's gonna be good to see her on the main roster again. Another one where it's like, man, like obviously she's very like tall and big as well, but it's like, yo, man, like it's easy to think that like she's just very green, and I'm sure that she's green, but however they're teaching, they're picking. There is a lot of people that are able to pick this up really quickly, and
Yeah,
she's good. She's good. It's
I
she's
mean,
only gonna get better.
Yeah, picking up college athletes like in their young prime is not a bad move at all. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
So
curious.
it's like,
Do you know what her athletic background is?
I do not know at
I'll
all.
look it up afterwards. But yeah, that's impressive. And then I also want to give a shout out to Michin and Keith Lee. They lost their dog this weekend or this past week.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to.
It was like a couple days ago. She had talked about how she had to take her dog to like the vet because he wasn't feeling well, and then like 2 days later she had posted that like he went into the doggy rainbow in the sky, and then another comment, somebody talked about the pre-tapes, and then she had commented, be like, yeah, actually these pre-tapes are nice because scheduling conflicts, and if we had to tape on Tuesday, I wouldn't have been able to say goodbye to my pet. And so, shout out to Michin and Keith Lee. I know I don't have a pet, but I can imagine losing a pet is heartbreaking. And then shout out to Lash for being tossed into a match last minute, quote unquote, and
Hmm.
coming out looking great. You haven't had
For sure.
you and Jakar haven't had a bad moment on the main roster yet. So shout out to both of y'all. Um, there was one more thought I had that I'm blanking on, but I guess that can be blanked forever because we got the pop up show today in 5 hours. Survivor Series predictions. Let's get into it. We got a 5 card matchup. I don't know what the order is, so this is going to just be at a random order. Imagine we're going to start with the WarGames match, but not in this quarter and not in this list. So the first match for WarGames Survivor Series that we got on here is LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship.
I don't know if you just saw me take a deep breath about 10 seconds ago as I was looking at this, because I knew it was a short card, but like immediately, because my knee jerk was like, Shinsuke's winning this, but that was if it's clean. And I'm like, God damn it. I was like, if we end up pushing this to a fatal 4-way, like just throw all 4 of them in there, because that's where I'm like, they would get away with having Shinsuke lose here, which is going to make me throw up. It's going to make me throw up when he loses. But I'm going to have faith in my guy, and I'm still going to say he should be winning. He's been completely dominant, and he didn't jinx himself like Damian this week by actually touching the title. So
I'm going to go Shinsuke as well. And like I just mentioned, I'm going to go with Shinsuke because LA Knight got missed it last night. And
yeah,
I think there's going to be some after effects from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just got hit with that way too smooth. You know what I'm saying? If
it
this
was
was like, if he got hit with that
literally.
miss, if he got hit with that miss last week, I'm like, okay, you looked at the tape, you did your research, you game planned, and now you're a little bit more prepared for that. Technically, technically he did get hit with it last week, but technically this happened 24 hours ago.
Yeah, and kayfabe for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So there's still after effects of it. You don't even have you don't even have the time to game plan enough to be able
Oh,
to counter that. So I think he's just gonna get LA Knight off guard and Shinsuke gets the title.
hopefully so. Hopefully so. Um, Braun Breaker for the IC title. Braun Breaker, the reigning champion, versus Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser in a triple threat. Who you got?
See, these triple threats are interesting because it's like, has Braun Breaker faced both of them individually? Yeah, but the real beef is between Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser.
Hmm.
So do they just cancel each other out and then Braun Breaker wins? That's what I'm gonna say. And Braun Breaker just won the titles back like a month ago. Like, is he gonna lose it again that quickly? Is he gonna be the Charlotte Flair and just like win it, lose it, win it, lose it, win it, lose it?
Yeah. Then eventually he'll break the record
Yeah, I
of like
mean,
IC reigns.
If Gunther is about days
Yeah.
and Charlotte's about reigns, maybe
Yeah,
Braun
he can be
Breaker's
about
about
reigns.
reigns. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm also going with Braun Breaker for basically the same reasoning because you know, shout out on a dartboard or calling the shot. I mean, Sheamus should win at WrestleMania, so Sheamus definitely winning. So that puts it between Ludwig and Braun. I'm like, can I
I would
see
prefer
Ludwig with the
Sheamus to
IC
win this
title?
right now.
I mean, yeah, it's been going on forever, but I think that's one of those because it has already been so long. Make it at WrestleMania, like you said, you're already done with it, so it might as well be the biggest moment. I mean, I think
I
that would
guess,
just be
yeah.
just doing right by him, as far as
Yeah.
like he's been here 12, 13, 14 years, whatever. But that's my explanation. But Ludwig would look good with that. He would look good with that IC title. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Gunther versus Damian Priest. Do you believe Damian is whooping Gunther's ass and taking the title back like he has been up to this point?
I think Damien is gonna whip Gunther's ass today. And he's gonna lose off like some schoolboy shit.
Yeah.
Gunther.
Gunther is
Damian's
still
gonna look
being
real good,
established.
but yeah, Gunther is gonna win by holding the tights up. Or feet on the
Yeah.
ropes or something. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna just feed into this notion that Gunther is not the same Gunther, even though like there's really been no proof other
He's
than
been slipping.
other than just Damian Priest just saying it.
Yeah. He's gonna have
Like,
to
okay.
actually, cheat for realsies.
Like I read it on the internet that you're falling off, and it's like, bro, have you been watching my matches? Like that's how I
Are you
feel with this
serious?
whole. That's how I feel with this. He's like, oh, you're falling off. You blah, blah. I'm like, bro, what are you watching to say that I've fallen off? Go look at the tape. Go look at the tape.
All right, so we got this women's war games. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bailey versus Judgment Day, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Whew, that's a lot. I'm gonna go faces because Rhea, if you're willing to come back from orbital bone and look like Batman, I gotta have you going over. You know what I'm saying? This is like, and then also I don't know what the point of like all of these relatively disjointed heels combining strengths is, or the purpose is outside of obviously just war games, like making the match. Yeah. So that's where I'm just gonna go faces. I'm just gonna type faces. So I ain't gonna type all that shit.
No, yeah, I want to lean face because I'm like, you got a team with Rhea Ripley and Bianca. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And like the way that they're pushing this, it seems like
all right, if they win,
I'm gonna go heels. I think there's a little too many question marks. I think Rhea and Bianca are probably gonna be head to head.
Yeah.
Because, right now Rhea is kind of like the leader of this team, and it's like, yo, Bianca is just relegated to just being a person now.
Not so much, but yeah, I get what you're saying in this setting.
Bailey came out of nowhere. Is she the person that jumped Jade?
Possibly.
I don't know. Like, is there issues on the heel side? Sure, but I also think Rhea and her infatuation with getting her hands on Liv is like, does that really finish off today? I don't know. Like, that's my main concern, is that as much as I want it to be over, this is not going to be the over end of Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, of course not.
And so I'm going to go heels. I think there's just more I think there's more follow up with the heels winning than the faces.
No, that's definitely true. That's definitely true.
We finally got our first split. And then let's get into the final match.
Mm-hmm.
New Bloodline, OG Bloodline.
I'm gonna go new.
We're gonna end in a tie, possibly. I'm gonna go OG. And the reason I go OG is the last line of what Punk said.
Mm-hmm.
You owe me.
That's yeah, right. Because I want to know what that is for sure. And he's like,
you're not gonna get
that.
You're not gonna get that if the New Bloodline wins. Maybe. But at least in my mind, I'm like, that it has to be a win to get.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Like, it can't just be just him showing up, because I mean, granted, that's what's interesting, because he is a Raw guy. So it makes sense that he's just showing up for his homie this one time. Like he said, one time. So if he shows up and they lose, that's not his problem. You know what I'm saying? He got to deal with Seth and shit, or whoever the fuck else. So, but yeah, that's the one. I mean, the Bloodline story is the most nuanced story. So either way you take it, I mean, you're gonna get story out of it. That's not the the case with the women's necessarily. So
yeah.
but yeah, there's our
That's our
predictions.
Survivor Series WarGames predictions. Moody, we got 5 minutes left. And I don't have a champion of the week this week, so I got to double up next week. Close us
Okay.
out with the champion.
All right. I got the champion. This is also sort of that same like idea that I had of like just indie wrestling in general that I wanted to add. I still haven't come up with like, a good tag for it yet. But either way, this is my champion of the week. This is the Pursuit of Happiness. You Got a Dream, You Got to Protect It title. Is going to GTS Wrestling, which stands for Grimm's Toy Store or Toy Show, excuse me. You can follow him at Silly Super Pop on YouTube. But this is from the famous Pursuit of Happiness when he's talking to his son. Oh shit, nope. Not that one. This other one. I believe it's the top one.
I mean, you could still speak because we only got 4 minutes left.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, but this is going to but yeah, Grimm's Toy Show. This is a YouTube channel that I found. But this guy started off literally just reenacting like he claims he has the biggest wrestling action figure collection, and he was just putting on like Royal Rumbles and stuff, but pretty well edited and just doing all the voices and all this stuff. So much to the point now he's at 1.3 million subscribers and has his own wrestling promotion. I can't find out like where he's based yet. I'm trying to follow it some more, but he's literally they're putting on like weekly episodes, and they're clearly just in some backyard, like where you would think, I don't know, in Texas or Kentucky somewhere. But this is where we've gotten appearances of Cocaine, this
yeah,
viral wrestler. He's also a part of GTS, and the main character or the main guy running it, his name is Grimm. He is a wrestler on the promotion, and his finisher is called the main character bomb, which is just a splash into the corner on you. And it's just the most ridiculous gimmick backyard wrestling that I just wanted to highlight this week. That's all it is. So that's why he's getting it. Because I just think it's a beautiful, like, this is childhood. You know what I'm saying? What he's doing is childhood. Watching this stuff.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'll check it out once we get off. But I'm pretty sure I've seen the Cocaine. I've seen that. And I heard there's another version of him too. Like he's got a brother. I forget what it's called.
Gain. Yeah. It's the same ominous, the fire always burns music. And then right at the crescendo, it goes, I'm coming out. I want the world to know. And it's a rainbow cane suit. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's where these guys are. So I found them this week, and I was just like, oh shit, okay. And the amount of content that he's doing is amazing. Like daily uploads, like in their most recent pay-per-view, it's the steel cage series, because everything they're doing is just a ripoff. The character Mad Dad or Rad Dad won the title and came to a crying conclusion. It's just like, he just has an Argyle sweater on. It's just like, what is this? But yeah, that's my champion of the week. Dig into it.
All right, I will. And that is it for us on episode 21. And right now, we got 1 minute and 20 seconds before we hit 2 hours on this joint. So, Moody,
follow us on our socials, Twitter, Blue Sky. Send us an email at thewrestlingreup@gmail.com. We'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, or no, we already are. Excuse me.
Spotify,
we are on podcast
format. These episodes will be up in about 30 minutes. And so listen to there and subscribe if you don't want to catch the video version on YouTube. But until next time, catch us next week for episode 22 on the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. Peace, everyone.
Peace.